Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the biggest nose, JZ Courtside, coming at y'all today on Monday, March 2nd. That's right. Yeah, we're already in March. How? We are already in March, y'all, and we have had many years jam-packed in these 2 months of this year so far. Between everything that's going on in this world, man, at least one thing is consistent that we know of. Basketball is good. Basketball is alive, and at least we have basketball in our lives, right? So through it all, remember, we like to keep our shows organic. We like to keep our shows more than positive for 99% of the time. And, if you guys are ever feeling down or anything, just know that you have shows, you have podcasts, you have friends, family, whoever it may be, to distract you from the everyday world that we are going through right now. Speaking of which, you have our shows that happen Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. I would like to just remind everybody, today's episode is going to be winners and losers of the NBA weekend, as we all know. And we also have a stud of the night prepared from last night. On top of all of that, many of you guys may know this already, but we are visiting Detroit, specifically my family, next week. So next week, there might not be an episode on Monday, so a week from today, but there will be episodes all throughout that week. Okay? Normal time, 9 a.m. Eastern, is just going to be a different office, different mic, different camera, different setup. All right. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. TikTok, YouTube, be sure to drop likes, subscribe, follow, do all that jazz. And Twitch chat, you guys already know, y'all have the easiest job in the entire world. All right. And what's that, you might ask? Sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, an energy drink, and enjoy the show. Guys, today we are going to be starting off with the winners of the weekend. The winners of the weekend. I know a couple times over this season we have started with the losers of the weekend, but because they were just so severe, like it was during, the Knicks' catastrophic downfall. It was with the Lakers' catastrophic downfall. You know what I'm saying? But over this weekend, we just had so many negative things come out in the world that I think we need a little positivity in our life. So we're going to start with the winners of the weekend. And of course, I know everybody thinks that I'm going to start with my team and whatnot. And as much as I wanted to, because they have probably the best story out of everybody on here, I am going to be starting with the Oklahoma City Thunder for my first winner of the weekend. Now, I'd like to just make note for everybody that's watching and listening. The winners that I chose this weekend, I understand Charlotte's on a 4-game winning streak. I understand Atlanta's on a 4-game winning streak, but both of those teams only played 1 game over the weekend. So all the winners of the weekend that I chose played 2 games over the weekend. I feel like that's most fair. Shout out, though, to the Charlotte Hornets for 4 games in a row. Shout out to the Atlanta Hawks for 4 games in a row. But as y'all know, to be called winner of the weekend, you got to win at least 2 games. We've been doing that all season long. So my number 1 winner of the weekend is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, I haven't really called them winners that often throughout this year. But now that there's actual doubt about the Oklahoma City Thunder with lack of health, lack of consistency, lack of just overall firepower that they had last year, I feel like now's the perfect time to call them a winner of the weekend. I've been reluctant to because, look at, if you guys remember how the season started, we were all predicting that they'd win 70+ games. We were all predicting that they'd beat the Warriors record. That's what we were all thinking. So, when they would win, it wasn't a story. And then when they'd lose, it was a story. So now I'm sort of counteracting that story. The Oklahoma City Thunder have officially become the first team in the NBA that have clinched a playoff berth. And they said that the West Coast was more difficult than the East Coast. Am I right? Because the Pistons are the number 1 seed in the NBA, yet the Thunder are the first one that clinched. Shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They won both of their games over the weekend. And in fact, I want to start with the Dallas game that happened last night. Obviously, a very strong, dominant win. Dallas doesn't really have anybody, but they ended up not shooting well from 3 at all. They shot 20%. But what won the Thunder the game is just having so many offensive players who contributed. They had Shea dropping 30, Chet dropping 19. Off the bench, they had Isaiah Joe with 14, Jared McCain with 11. So it was an overall team effort when the Mavericks just couldn't get scoring from anyone. But I think the main reason why I picked them to be my winner of the weekend is because of the Friday night's game. If you guys missed this game, I feel sorry for you. It was, wow. Give me 10 games. Give me 10 of these. Seriously, give me 10. It was the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Denver Nuggets, and the game went into overtime. And the Oklahoma City Thunder won 127 to 121. Now, what was the storyline of this game? Well, the Denver Nuggets tried their best Boston Celtics impersonation, but nobody can be like the Boston Celtics when they're firing. They attempted 48 threes and they hit 18 of them. On top of that, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, didn't even step on the floor during overtime because they didn't want to over throttle his minutes because he was on a minutes restriction, and yet he still played 34 minutes of the game. Now, the main storyline of this game happened, I forget what quarter it was. If it was Friday, it feels like a year ago. But Lou Dort, in a dirty way, fell on the ground and intentionally tripped Nikola Jokic. And I'm sure you guys have seen the image. I'm sure you guys have seen the fight that they had at the center court. Nikola Jokic was not happy. In fact, it took like everybody to hold him back. But Lou Dort ended up getting ejected out of that game, and the Denver Nuggets, they thought they could feed off of that, but it just didn't work. The Denver Nuggets ended up losing that game. And, the Denver Nuggets have not had a good end. If you guys remember, I picked the Denver Nuggets to be my loser of the month in February. And they just keep losing. So we'll see. Don't worry. We're going to be talking about losers of the weekend here shortly. The Oklahoma City Thunder ended up winning that game, and it was on the back of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but he did not have an efficient first game back. He got 36 points, 9 assists, and 3 rebounds, but he shot 12 for 29 and 0 for 3 from deep, and he shot 12 for 13 from the free throw line. I'm just saying, man, 12 for 13 for the free throw line. It makes that stat line look way better than it actually is. It makes it look way better than it actually does. Don't worry, we'll be talking about Jokic and the Nuggets in, later on in the show. I don't want to give away a spoiler. The bench really won them this game, though. Alex Caruso hit some timely threes. He had 12 points off the bench. Jalen Williams, he had 12 points, 4 for 7 from the field. And Jared McCain also, great game. In 19 minutes, he produced 14 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and he shot 6 for 8 from the field. Like, that's just what a find. Shout out the Philadelphia 76ers for sending Jared McCain for virtually free. So, the Oklahoma City Thunder with 2 massive wins over the weekend. Honestly, they needed it when it came because, in case you guys don't know, the San Antonio Spurs were right on their heels. I believe they were only 2 games back, but now the Spurs are 3 games back. Spurs lost last night, and the Thunder won. So, big night for the Oklahoma City Thunder last night, and obviously an even bigger night against Denver on Friday. I'm telling y'all, that matchup, the fact that the Thunder don't even have J-Dub, they don't have AJ Mitchell, and the fact that they're still beating the other contenders. Obviously, the Denver Nuggets didn't have Aaron Gordon, but they haven't had him for months, so I can't really mention that all the time. The Oklahoma City Thunder, man, they did their thing over the weekend. They're doing their thing all season long. And that's why they're my number 1 winner of the weekend. I think Jared McCain is going to prove very valuable for this team. I don't know where his minutes lie when it comes to AJ Mitchell coming back, because obviously they're going to prioritize AJ Mitchell. But this really, really helps when they don't have J-Dub. This really, really, really helps. Here's my note for anybody around the NBA Association as far as fans go, scouts, reporters, analysts, anybody. Don't make a trade with the Oklahoma City Thunder because chances are you lost it. Okay? I feel like everybody needs to realize this sooner or later, and I thought every team knew this already. But don't make a deal with Sam Presti. He's going to fleece your team. So when they did this, obviously, of course, we all anticipated Jared McCain to just come out and show out, and he's been doing his thing, man. He's been posting his YouTube videos. He's been dancing on TikTok. He's been painting his nails. Jared McCain's a beast, and they just fleece everybody that they trade with, so don't do it. Shout out the Oklahoma City Thunder, man. They really did their thing. That's why they're my number 1 winner of the weekend. They won both of their games over the weekend, as well as, to their, what I believe and what we all believe, their main competition out west. So good weekend. They got 2 huge wins over the weekend. Guys, let's move on to my next winner of the weekend. I feel like I'm calling them winner a lot lately. The New York Knicks. The New York Knicks ended up winning both their games over the weekend, and they were both not both good wins, but they took care of business against the hot Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks won 8 of their previous 10 games before they ran into New York. But the big game that we all obviously know that I'm going to talk about is the San Antonio Spurs visited New York and they handled them. They handled them. The Knicks beat a good team. Now, this is major. This is major. And I guess the main storyline of this game is De'Aaron Fox. For the San Antonio Spurs, De'Aaron Fox just, wow. The fact that he's going to be making $65 million in 2 years is worrisome. It's worrisome to say the least. Now, I'm not going to be like everybody else on Twitter and start overreacting from De'Aaron Fox's poor game. There was one tweet in particular that I had to save because it was that funny. Now, remember, I want to talk about the New York Knicks being the winner of the weekend, but I do want to start with this tweet of the Spurs. This man said, I wanted to be patient with De'Aaron Fox, but I'm out on him. He's looked so mid. Even with the Spurs winning, he looks mid. The $229 million contract extension, it might be a heist, not going to lie. He was a high usage stat pattern with the Kings, doesn't really play winning basketball like that. And the top response is, did you forget how clutch he was for Sacramento in that like the beam year? And that's the funniest thing I see because, guys, that was 5 years ago. Do you understand what 5 years is in professional sports? 5 years? Like I said, it's always the commentators calling out the former clutch player of the year. Bro, I'm thinking of the Gucci backpack that's hanging by a strand. Let that shit go, bro. Let it go. That was 5 years ago. So for Spurs fans, I would like to also say, don't worry. Like I said, De'Aaron Fox is not going to be the future of this team. In fact, I think the Miami Heat should start looking at De'Aaron Fox. He has been very, very productive on the floor especially when Wemby was out. But now that like Wemby's back, it's weird, man. They can't get each other involved as much as you thought. Like Stephon Castle's the one that's getting Wemby involved. And Wemby had 25 points, 13 rebounds, 4 blocks, 2 assists, 8 for 17 from the field. So it was a bounce back game, but nobody else wanted to help him that wasn't named Devin Vassell. Yeah, everybody had a bad game for the Spurs. But speaking of the Knicks, here's what I'll say about the Knicks. There's a lot of good teams in the NBA, right? And each good team sort of has like an X factor. I think we can all agree that the New York Knicks' X factor is Mikal Bridges. He shouldn't be, but he is. When Mikal Bridges has a good game, like he did against the Spurs, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 steals, 10 for 17 from the field, this team is unstoppable, really. It is. Because you already know Brunson is going to be Brunson. We all know that. Cat, unfortunately, is going to be Cat. And when you have that production from Mikal Bridges, that's really beneficial. It's sort of like the teams, let's think about it. It's like the Nuggets role players hitting their shot. They're virtually unstoppable because Jokic and Jamal Murray are going to get theirs. And it's like the Pistons when they hit threes. You're not going to beat them. And the Knicks are sort of in the same boat to an extent. When Mikal Bridges has a good game, it's very noticeable. It jumps off the stat sheet. And honestly, bigger than the stat sheet, it shows in the game. It shows that he's actually put in an effort, right? Now, very early on in the game when the Spurs were winning, yeah, it was like a 2-on-1 fast break, and Mikal Bridges decided to run on the fast break, stop on a dime, and fade away from the free throw line, which is comedy. He missed that. As soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, it's just going to be one of the normal Mikal Bridges games, but he ended up hitting his shots, and that's where it's very, very, very successful. So the New York Knicks ended up winning both of their games over the weekend, and I think that's, very big props to them. Karl-Anthony Towns had a pretty good game all around. He had 12 points, 14 rebounds. And I think the main thing I can give credit to Karl-Anthony Towns is that he defended Wemby as good as not as good as you can, but Cat has the body type that's able to defend Wemby. And that's what I always talk about. Julius Randle, Karl-Anthony Towns involved, Isaiah Stewart. The shorter, stocky builds give Victor Wembanyama a lot of trouble. And I think they will always give him trouble as long as he's in the NBA. Those body archetypes can't be moved. I think, Cat can be moved, but when he wants to try, he can't be moved. So like when you look at these type of players, they defend Wemby very, very well. Believe it or not, and I can attest to this. The Knicks are a very good team. Like they are built very, very well to beat the San Antonio Spurs. Lucky for both teams. Well, I guess lucky for the Spurs. They're in the Western Conference in that sense because not many teams are really built to be able to withstand the San Antonio Spurs. Like if you look out west, Rudy Gobert can't hold. with Victor Wembanyama. DeAndre Ayton can't hold Victor Wembanyama. Quentin Post can't hold Victor Wembanyama. Who's the best team? Chet Holmgren, as we all know, that's why they don't have Chet on Wemby, because they know he can't hold him. Jokic can't. None of the teams out west have those players other than the Timberwolves. And I've talked about the Timberwolves a lot when they play against the San Antonio Spurs. Having Julius Randle, having these shorter, stockier players are really, really good for the San Antonio Spurs. That's why I told everybody that the Pistons were missing Stu. That was a big hurt against the Spurs. And yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns got to do his thing and show that he can be not the cat stopper, not the Wemby stopper, but the Wemby slower. As long as you can slow him down, that's all that you need. Because at the end of the day, if Wemby's not getting his, then you better hope that Julian Champagnie isn't having an efficient game, Devin Vassell isn't having an efficient game, and they really weren't. So that was a great game by the New York Knicks. And, we all know Jalen Brunson. He's great. 24 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 7 for 16 from the field, and 4 for 7 for 3. I feel like this was one of those games where Brunson didn't really have to do a whole lot, if that makes sense. It was just like they got a bucket when they needed a bucket, and it was mostly early on. So games like that are great. And then a special shout out to GTA 5, Jose Alvarado, 17 minutes. And when you look at his stat sheet, you really think like this guy did not have an impact. And that's why you can't box score watch. The moment Jose Alvarado entered the game, the entire game shifted. The entire energy shifted. He had 3 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and he shot 1 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. So when you look at Jose Alvarado, you got to look deeper. You got to look at the actual gameplay. And that's why he wasn't really spoken about a whole lot when he was in New Orleans, because he was in New Orleans doing the same thing, not really putting up crazy stats, but bringing the irreplaceable energy that you really can't get from a lot of players in this league. As soon as he enters the court, it's just an impact change. And, I love seeing it. I know Knicks fans love seeing it. If anything, I think this guy might replace Mitchell Robinson as far as like everybody's favorite player on the New York Knicks. And it's very exciting. I love to see it. There was one thing I didn't expect from the New York Knicks last night, and it was the fact that they would out hustle the San Antonio Spurs. And I think that's the biggest concern that I had with that game with the Spurs. Of all teams, and I think even Wembanyama said something similar after the game. I said it during the game in my Discord. I said I did not have the New York Knicks out hustling the San Antonio Spurs tonight in my bingo card. I don't think any of us did. I think, as we know, the New York Knicks, they're not quick to get to loose balls. They're not quick to get to the open defender at the 3. They're not quick to rotate on defense. They're not quick to jump into action on the offensive side. And yet last night, they outplayed the Spurs in every single avenue, man. Every single avenue. They were getting to all the loose balls. They were running. They were sprinting. They were giving a lot of effort. And that's something I did not expect. And when the Knicks did that, man, that's honestly, you can feel it get injected into everyone's veins the moment that Jose Alvarado enters the game. So shout out GTA 5. I thought he had a great game. There's a reason why he almost led the team in plus minus last night. He was a plus 20. So shout out Jose. He really is an impact changer. He changes the game the moment he steps onto the court. And I know Pelicans fans miss him because he just brings such a specific energy that can't be replaced on a team. And he's going to be the X factor of them going into the playoffs. Obviously, it's going to be primarily Brunson and Cat. And Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are going to swing games, but Jose Alvarado can straight up change games the way he comes into the game. I'd like to give a special shout out to Z for leaving the TikTok and coming through to the Twitch stream. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you for the follow on Twitch. Be sure to join the Discord. I am going to take a quick second and end the TikTok stream. So if you guys would like to enjoy the rest of the show, be sure to come to the Twitch. We are still live over there. That's JZ Uncut on Twitch. The link is in my bio, YouTube and TikTok. So if you guys want to come through, I'm ending the TikTok right now. So if you want to hear more, be sure to come to the Twitch. That is just a calculated reset for everybody that's watching and listening, wondering why I'm ending the TikTok so early. It was slowing down, so there's just a calculated reset over there. Now, guys, let's just go ahead and move on into my third and final winner of the weekend. Listen, I very well could have had them at 1 or 2 as far as winners go. But I decided to save them for the third winner of the weekend just because I don't really want to talk about this team that a whole lot because I feel like as of late, especially, I've sort of allowed my fandom to creep in. But I think with the records and all of these statistics and analytics that have been going around lately, I feel like now's the time to truly talk about this team, because I'm not sure how positive I can be about this team later on. Now, I considered putting this team as a loser of the weekend. In fact, one of their main statistical points as loser of the weekend, but I decided against it. I just think they have an obvious flaw, and that makes them a loser of the weekend. But because of they won, the Detroit Pistons are my third and final winner of the weekend. And you know, you guys can call homer, you guys can call bias, you can call it whatever you want. Over the weekend, the Detroit Pistons beat 2 playoff teams in the Eastern Conference, and before that, they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, they're on a 3-game win streak. Obviously, we don't need to get into it. Cleveland was missing guys. Thunder were missing guys. Franz is still out for the Magic. But for the Detroit Pistons to claw these games out, I feel like I have to bring some stats involved just so you guys can understand why I wanted to call them a loser of the weekend, okay? Even though they won. This might come to a shock to some of you guys, but over the last 5 games, right? Over the last 5 games for the Detroit Pistons, they are shooting, and I repeat, they are shooting 19.8% from 3 over the last 5 games. 19.8% from deep. They are averaging 19.8% from 3. Ammo, I would appreciate if you can go ahead and repin your message, please. Please and thank you. Repin your message. By you pinning a new message in the Twitch chat, it removed the pin that you had previous. So please do that, even though you just wanted to be funny. I would like to give a special shout out to Z and Wardo for leaving the TikTok and coming through to the Twitch stream. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Shout out to you, Legends, for leaving the TikTok and coming through to the Twitch stream. Much appreciated. I thank you. Thank you so much. So, for the stat like that, the fact that in their last 5 games, this team is shooting 19.8% from 3, you guys are probably assuming that they've lost most of those games. That is only right to assume so. Any team that is shooting that poorly, they should not be winning games. In fact, this is the worst 3-point percentage over 5 games since 1982. 1982, the 3-point line was only there for like 5 years at that point. And that's why everybody stopped taking threes back then. This is the worst 5-game stretch of 3-point shooting since 1982, 1983 NBA season. And yet they are 4-1 during those games. I just have to point this out. The Detroit Pistons shot 1 for 17 from 3 last night in Orlando. From 3. They started the game 1 for 17 from 3. They ended the game 4 for 30. 4 for 30 from 3. And yet they somehow beat the Orlando Magic in Orlando by 14 points. The Magic had 10 threes. The Pistons had 4. On top of that, you guys are probably wondering how, and it's because of defense. That's all it is. In case you don't know, this is why I don't like the true shooting percentage statistic, because it's very skewed. When you look at the Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero, I don't know what he did to the refs before the game, but he had 14 free throws in the first half. 14 free throws in the first half. I got to repeat myself. Paolo Banchero had 14 free throws in the first half. He ended up only getting 2 more free throws in the entire second half. He had 24 points, and he had a 70% true shooting because he shot 5 for 10 from the field. But because of free throws, he has a 70% true shooting. Out of his 24 points, he had 13 free throws. So how did the Pistons win by 14 if they went 4 for 30 from 3? Defense. Defense. That's it. They adjusted at halftime, and the Orlando Magic only scored 18 points in the third quarter and only 17 points in the fourth quarter. And it really starts with Ausar Thompson. In case you guys don't know, I've talked about it a lot. Something that JB Bickerstaff does is he doesn't play Ausar Thompson as much as he should. He doesn't. Ausar Thompson played 21 minutes last game. last night. He played 21 minutes. And to speak on that, they asked Tobias Harris, who dropped 23 points last night in Orlando. They asked Tobias Harris about Ausar Thompson, and he said, and I quote, "I thought the biggest guy who gave the impact in that third quarter was Ausar Thompson. He was everywhere, flying for us, getting blocks, rebounds, pushing in transition, excuse me. And that got our energy up and going, and we were able to convert in transition. And obviously, he just played a great second half and stayed solid all the way through. So it's huge effort from everybody, but those little efforts go a long way." And now that's what I have to talk about, ladies and gents. That's what I have to talk about. Ausar Thompson came into this game, and he had 9 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists, and 2 steals, and 3 blocks, and he shot 4 for 5 from the field. On top of that, the Pistons set the all-time season low and made three-pointers, 4 for 30 this season, and three-point percentage. They shot 13% from 3 and still beat Orlando on the road by 14 points. This wasn't just a big game for the Detroit Pistons, but it was a big game for the entire franchise, because this win became the Detroit Pistons' 45th win of this NBA season. That is the most wins in a season for the Pistons since 2008. And what happens in 2008? That was the last time we won a home playoff game. That was the last time we won a playoff series. In fact, that was the last time we've made the conference finals. That was the last year of our 6-year streak where we had 6 visits to the conference finals. That's a big win. That's a big win. The Pistons had 44 wins last year. There's still 23 games left, and they've already surpassed their last year's win total. That's big. That's big. Now, here's another fun statistic for y'all. The Detroit Pistons this season are 31-5 when they make at least 10 threes in a game. 31-5 when they make at least 10 threes in a game. They are 14-9 when they make less than 10 threes in a game. Do you know what the record is for teams that don't make 10 threes in games this season? You guys know the record? Anybody? Anybody know the record when they make less than 10 threes? The entire league has 19 wins this entire season of teams not hitting 10 threes. 14 of those 19 are the Detroit Pistons. If that doesn't jump off the screen, I don't know what is. 19 wins this season of a team not hitting 10 threes, and the Pistons have 14 of those 9. Cade Cunningham obviously had a great weekend, 29 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds. That's just what Cade does now. This is what I expect a normal Cade Cunningham game would look like. This is normal. This isn't, well, that's crazy that I'm numb to this now, because I haven't had success on a basketball team in decades. And the fact that this is just a normal stat line is crazy. And, I have to highlight this. I saw Orlando Magic Twitter losing their minds, because when you look at this and you think about this, it's very funny, because the Pistons were not trying this game again. And I hate to say that, but the Pistons were walking. They were jogging. They were not trying at all this game. And they did that for the last 3 games. The Thunder, the Cavs, the Magic. They just don't look like they care right now. And yet they're walking into these games and holding teams under 20 points in quarters. The fact that they're not respecting fringe all-star teams in the NBA is sort of weird. That's what young teams do, but it's just weird to see. Now, again, I wanted to pick the Pistons as a loser of the weekend as far as their 3-point shooting goes, because that's got to get resolved. That can't last in the playoffs. Duncan Robinson 0 for 4 from the field, 0 points in the game. Ausar Thompson obviously had a miraculous game. He's incredible. Tobias Harris, efficient game. He always kills Paolo Banchero, which we'll talk about later on. Tobias Harris, 23 points. Jalen Duren, he had his worst game since the All-Star break. He had 16 points and 10 rebounds. That's his worst game since the All-Star break. And then Ron Holland brought the energy, 11 points. Now, I will say there is a consistent basis with this Detroit Pistons team. Anytime Caris LeVert is on the game, or anytime he's on the court, the Pistons lose those possessions. They need to figure this out. They need to stop playing. I don't know what JB Bickerstaff's obsession is with Karis LeVert, but I used to look forward to Detroit Pistons games. Now I'm depressed, knowing that the Pistons are playing tonight and that I have to watch Karis LeVert play basketball. I genuinely hate watching him on the court. He averages like 2.5 turnovers a game. I hate watching Karis LeVert. He was 0 for 4 from 3 last night, but who wasn't 0 for 3? You know what I'm saying? Like, who wasn't? Now, somebody came in, I would like to say, Jay-Z, I hope he's still here in the stream, by the way. How come the Timberwolves aren't winner of the weekend? They played 1 game over the weekend. That's why they're not winner of the weekend. If you've been here for the streams, winner of the weekend always has to win 2 games over the weekend. That's why I didn't pick the Timberwolves. That's why I didn't pick the Hawks. That's why I didn't pick the Charlotte Hornets. Jay-Z, where's the Timberwolves? There's no Timberwolves talk. They played well. We'll talk about them a little bit, but they're not the winner of the weekend. You have to play 2 games minimum to be eligible for winner of the weekend. That's just how it goes. That's what we've been doing all season long. Now, for the Pistons to be taken serious, they're going to have to hit some threes. They're going to have to. It's really funny because when the Pistons hit the league average amount of threes, you can't beat them. Like, genuinely, you can't beat this team when they hit the average amount of threes. The league average, you can't beat them. They just got to get to the league average. They got to hit them because right now they're not. They're not. The last 5 games, they're shooting 19.8% from 3. Dennis Jenkins, another horrible game. Another horrible game. 1 for 6 from the field. Another bad game. Now, I'll be easy on him because he won the game for us in against Cleveland. But yeah, man, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. And of course, people are going to ask, why didn't you pick the Lakers as winner of the weekend? Look at the winners I've chosen. I have, the Thunder. I have the Knicks and the Pistons. I am not going to call a team that beat the Sacramento Kings, the worst team in the NBA, and the Golden State Warriors, arguably one of the worst teams in the NBA, but without Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green. Like, arguably, like I'm not calling that a winner of the weekend. Yes, they played 2 games of the weekend, but did they really play 2 games? They played like half a game with 2 of those. Now, my last point is JB Bickerstaff has to play Ausar Thompson for 30 minutes a game. I can't keep watching Ausar only play 21 minutes every time he's on the court, every time there's a run, every time we need stops, every time we need buckets, every time Ausar Thompson comes in and does his thing. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and move on into our losers of the weekend. Okay. I would like to say TikTok, YouTube, if you guys are enjoying today's stream, if you guys are enjoying this show, please do me a massive favor and come through to the Twitch stream. I guarantee you would enjoy it so much more over here in the Twitch. It's a much better experience, much better viewing experience, much better listening experience, much better community experience. I would love to see you guys come through to the Twitch stream. It's all good overall over here in the Twitch. That's JZ Uncut on Twitch, or just click the link in my bio. Guys, my first loser up is the Orlando Magic. Now, this was debatable between my number 1 loser and my number 2 loser. But the Orlando Magic, my number 1 loser of the weekend. I think everybody can agree as well. Now, for loser, I'm a little bit more graceful as far as winners go. Winners, I always make sure that they've played 2 games over the weekend, but I'm counting the Orlando Magic's Rockets game as part of the weekend because they had 2 days off. They had 3 days to prepare for the Pistons. And yet they still did what they did in the second half of the Rockets game. I'm very disappointed in the Orlando Magic. I knew they wouldn't be as good as everybody said. I knew they weren't going to jump the Pistons in the leaderboard. I knew they would look like this. They'd look great one night, look horrible the next night. I knew they'd have injuries. I knew they still couldn't shoot from 3, and I knew they forgot how to defend. Something that I didn't point out because I've been saving it for the Pistons Magic game is I wanted to talk about some crucial statistics that the Orlando Magic should not be getting beat at. Okay? And they have been consistently this season. Remember, this is the first loser of the weekend, and it's the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic got beat on the rebounding. The Pistons had 56 rebounds. The Magic had 41. That's embarrassing. You're getting out rebounded by Tobias Harris and Ausar Thompson. The Pistons had more offensive rebounds. The Pistons had more defensive rebounds. The Pistons had more assists. The Pistons had more steals. The Pistons had more blocks. The Pistons had less turnovers. The Pistons had more points off turnovers. The Pistons had more fast break points. The Pistons more than doubled their points in the paint. The Pistons scored 66 points in the paint without Isaiah Stewart, who is returning next game for the Detroit Pistons. Mind you, I forgot to say that stat. The Pistons went 6-1 without Isaiah Stewart and his suspension. He was suspended for 7 games, and the Pistons went 6-1 in those 7 games. Their one loss to the San Antonio Spurs. They made 4 threes, and you lost by 14. The Pistons scored 66 points in the paint. The Magic scored 32. That's not going to win you games. That's not going to win you games in the NBA. TikTok is saying Isaiah Stewart is not relevant. Isaiah Stewart leads the NBA in lowest field goal percentage attempted on him. So the fact that somebody says he's not relevant, but he's on pace. He's going to have the best defensive presence around the hoop. Better than Wemby. Better than Gobert. Better than Mobley. Better than everybody in the entire NBA. He allows the least amount of points scored in the paint. Plain and simple. So TikTok, what's your name over there? Dalt, just stick to taking mirror selfies in the gym. All right, buddy. I love when skinny guys post pictures of their abs. That's like, I'm not going to say it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So yeah, the Pistons just outworked the Magic in every aspect. The Pistons just outworked the Magic in every aspect. And it's really unfortunate because the Magic should not be losing games like this. They shouldn't. Something that I want to talk about with the Orlando Magic specifically is Tristan da Silva was killing us. They were killing the Pistons. He shot 8 for 13 from the field, 3 for 6 from deep. Now, as far as Paolo Banchero goes, I'm going to save him for last. Wendell Carter Jr. sucks. One of the worst contracts in the NBA, arguably one of the worst contracts in the NBA. And I think Magic fans can agree with me. I don't understand how this guy's been starting for the Orlando Magic for what, 6 years now? 6 years now? Right? Like, bro, Wendell Carter Jr. is not a starting center in the NBA. He's not. He's so not good. He's not good. He had that one great game against the Los Angeles Lakers. And I told my Magic fans, who I don't think they're here in stream right now. I think they're avoiding the stream knowing that this was coming. They let Paolo's good game and Wendell Carter Jr.'s good game get skewed because they beat on the Los Angeles Lakers, who have the fifth worst defense in the NBA. Wendell Carter Jr., 4 points, 9 rebounds, 2 for 6 from the field. Now, I will say, they defended Jalen Duren very well. They made him the focal point of the defense. They defended Jalen Duren really well. Every time Jalen Duren caught the ball, they trapped him. So I will say they did a good job on that, but that's a team effort. Desmond Bane was getting clamped by Ausar Thompson. You guys can look at all the shots. Desmond Bane went 1 for 11 when guarded by Ausar Thompson. 1 for 11. He shot 5 for 14 for the game. He had 17 points, 7 assists. He shot 1 for 11 when Ausar Thompson guarded him. So, dude, all I'm saying is, like, you have to get past Ausar Thompson, and then you're met with Isaiah Stewart when he's back tomorrow, actually. That's tough. Jalen Suggs should not ever in a million years, Jalen Suggs should never be taking the most shots in a game for the Orlando Magic. He shot 4 for 17. 4 for 17. He should never be leading the Magic in shot attempts, okay? Something that was very interesting is the Pistons kept attacking Jalen Suggs. They kept setting screens to get Suggs on Cade. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe they didn't recognize Suggs because he went bald. But they kept setting screens to get Suggs on Cade. I don't know why. But it was working. I don't know why they were doing it. He's their best perimeter defender, and yet they kept attacking him. Javon Carter, bad game, 1 for 6. Jet Howard, bad game, 0 for 3. Mo Wagner had a pretty good game, I think. I don't know why he only played 13 minutes. He went 3 for 6. Jonathan Isaac, bro, I just have to say, This game would have been an absolute monstrosity of a blowout if the refs weren't riding Paolo Banchero all game. I believe Cade Cunningham had 4 free throws last night. I believe. I'll look. Can you guys just watch this play? I'm going to describe it for the podcast viewers. Cade drives into drives into Javon Carter, goes up. This is just one of many plays. Okay. I want to ask you guys, check this out. Cade Cunningham jumps up and Jonathan Isaac doesn't jump straight up. He doesn't jump straight up. In fact, he clocks Cade out of the air. You guys can see it. He jumped into Cade. He launched himself into Cade. You can see he jumps 3 feet into Cade. Cade hits it. Now, I have a question for everybody. Do you guys think that was called a foul? The fact that I'm asking this pretty much gives you the answer. It wasn't a foul. This happened all night. This happens every game. Cade Cunningham doesn't get the respect he deserves from the officials. And the Magic do, for some reason. Paolo Banchero, he had 14 free throws in the first half. Luckily, the Pistons kept trapping him in the second half, so he wasn't getting free throws anymore. They were defending him without fouling. He only had 2 free throws in the second half. I got to say this, and I got to say this again, man. Paolo Banchero is not a point. He's not a point guard, man. He's not a point guard. The unfortunate part is Paolo Banchero can't play off ball. Every time Paolo attempted a 3, which was 4 times, every time Paolo attempted a pull-up mid-range, I look at my fiance and I say, that's the shot we want, baby. That's the shot that we want every day. That is the shot. We want Suggs to continue shooting. We want every time somebody not named Desmond Bane shot, it was a win for the Pistons. Every time. And the funny thing is when Ausar Thompson was guarding Desmond Bane, like I said, he held Desmond Bane to 1 for 11 shooting. I don't understand this coach. Jamal Mosley came out before the game and said Cade Cunningham is the MVP of the league. Jamal Mosley, the head coach of the Orlando Magic, he said that. And something that's very frustrating for the Orlando Magic is that I can't blame it on one thing. I can't blame it on Paolo Banchero, even though I can't blame it on Franz Wagner. I can't blame it on Desmond Bane. I can't blame it on the head coach. I can't put it all on one person, but I can group it up and put it to everybody. This was a big quote that I saw after the game. Paolo on why the Magic have struggled in second halves of games. Paolo said, and I quote, teams make adjustments and we don't adjust to their adjustment. Teams make adjustments and we don't adjust to their adjustments. Is that not a direct call out to their head coach, Jamal Mosley? Is that not a direct dig at their head coach? They knew the Pistons were going to stop following Paolo. They knew they'd stop getting called for it. I'm just struggling to see, to be honest, why they haven't scapegoated Jamal Mosley yet. I don't know why. This is a horrible comment that I see, but he asked, do the Magic trade Bane in order to open up a large window? No, they don't, because you're not getting 5 first-round picks for Desmond Bane. Unfortunately, I've said it once, I've said it twice, and I'll say it again. And finally, Magic fans have started to agree with me. They swung for the fences and went all in, and now this is the team that they're stuck with. Until they trade either Franz or Paolo, this is the team that they're stuck with. It's unfortunate. I don't think they're going to trade Jamal Mosley. It's late into the season. I don't think they're going to do it. But something needs to change, man. Something needs to change. Yeah, they swung for the fences and accidentally bunted. Desmond Bane has been incredible, but now you gotta get rid of Wendell Carter. Like, this team's biggest issues is they need an actual point guard. They need an actual center, because Wendell Carter is not a starting caliber center in this league. Jalen Suggs is not a starting caliber point guard in this league. And the issue is whoever they trade those guys for, they're gonna lose their trade. They're gonna lose the trade because they're not going to be successful trades. They're bad contracts, so they're gonna have to force teams. They're going to have to incentivize teams to take them because they're bad contracts and not good players. So it's unfortunate, but the only way that they could somehow save this roster is by trading a Franz, by trading a Paolo. I've been preaching this until the day I've been preaching it. They put themselves in a corner. They went for a home run with Desmond Bane and traded their entire future for him. Desmond Bane wasn't enough to make this team a contender. You didn't have a good point guard. You didn't have a good center. This is what happens. And now you don't have good health as usual. My second loser of the weekend, y'all. TikTok, if you guys are enjoying the stream, you would enjoy the stream so much more in the Twitch. I'd love to see you, Chief, Mark, everybody come on through to the Twitch stream. We'd love to have you over here. That's Jay-Z Uncut. The link is in my bio. My second loser of the weekend, and it's the Denver Nuggets. I think it's pretty obvious why I'm selecting the Denver Nuggets. They lost both of their games over the weekend. They lost to Minnesota last night, and then they lost to the Oklahoma City that we talked about already on Friday night. I called the Denver Nuggets my loser of February because they were 4-6 in the month of February. Well, they finished 4-7. That's not good. That's not good. And then if you think that they're going to start over and, you know, have a good month in March, they end up falling to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Luckily for them tonight, they have the Utah Jazz, so that is a scheduled win. They should win. But this Timberwolves game, I got to admit, they got outworked. They got out-hustled. They got outshot. They just got outdone in every facet of this game. The Nuggets had 3 more rebounds, but the Timberwolves did everything else. They had more defensive rebounds. They had more assists. They had more steals. They had more blocks. They had the same turnovers. They had more points off turnovers. They had more fast break points. They just outworked them, man. They just outworked them. I was watching Naz Reid look great. Honestly, he didn't have an efficient night at all. He shot 5 for 11. Oh, he was pretty efficient, 5 for 11, but 1 for 5 from 3. Excuse me. He was 1 for 5 from 3. I thought the biggest things, I've always said it, and I've been preaching this all season long. The Minnesota Timberwolves, if you get your 20 or 30 from Ant, who are you going to get your other 20 from? Typically, it's Julius Randle. If Julius Randle, like last night, only gets 14, then you pray it's a combination of a couple players. And oh boy, it was. It was more than that. Jaden McDaniels, efficient, 20 points. 20 points. 9 for 12 from the field, super efficient. His only misses were threes. Dante DiVincenzo, 5 for 10. Hit some big threes. He hit all shots from threes. 17 points. 5 assists, 3 rebounds for Dante DiVincenzo. Off the bench, Naz Reid, 11. Ayo Dosunmu, 9 points, 4 for 6. And Bones Highland, 18 points, 6 for 7 from the field. Like, that's just incredible, man. That's incredible. Chief, thank you so much for the follow on Twitch. Shout out to Chief for leaving the TikTok and coming through to the Twitch stream. I appreciate you very much, Chief. Be sure to join the Discord as well. TikTok, YouTube, be sure to do what the homie Chief just did and come through to the Twitch stream. We'd love to have you over here, guys. That's Jay-Z Uncut, same name on TikTok or the link in my bio. I'm telling y'all, man, when you have consistent effort from the Minnesota Timberwolves from across the board, you're not going to beat this team. Now, I would say it's quite worrisome that the Timberwolves are only playing 8 guys in a game. That's very worrisome. 8 guys in a game in March, that is concerning. That is concerning as hell. That is the shortest rotation I've seen in a game so far this year, I think. So they really wanted this win. They really wanted this win, but I don't like seeing these players play. Like, look, just for reference, okay? Just for reference. The lowest amount of minutes from a starter last night was 33 minutes from Jaden McDaniels. How much did they win this game by? They won by 9. The Pistons won by 14. And the Pistons had 21 minutes for Asar Thompson, 25 minutes for Duncan Robinson. Like, the Timberwolves are burning their guys out, and that's not going to bode well in the playoffs. This team is thin. They're deep to their 8, but they're thin beyond that. Mike Conley can only play in spurts. Joe Ingles, you're not playing. Jalen Clark, you're not playing. Julian Phillips, you're not playing. Terrence Shannon Jr., they're not playing him now. They really don't have any other players outside of their top 8, and that's concerning as shit. Excuse my French. Jay, Stu, and Chief, thank you guys so much for the follows on Twitch. I appreciate you, gentlemen. Be sure to join the Discord as well. Exclamation point Discord in the chat. Shout out to you 2 legends for leaving the TikTok stream and coming to the Twitch. I appreciate you guys a lot. I'd love to see more of you guys come by. The Timberwolves, honestly, it was a great win, but I hate when people say this, but I think this spoke more about the loss of the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets, man, they don't look good. They don't look good. This Cam Johnson trade for Michael Porter Jr., man, it's not looking good. 0 for 6 from the field. I haven't seen a good game from Cam Johnson. And you know what's ballistic about this? It says Cam Johnson is shooting 40% from three. This has to be altered by AI. There's no way. Every time I watch Cam Johnson, he's shooting 1 for 7. How the hell is he shooting 40.5% from three? There's no way. I feel like he hasn't had a good game all season. So Cam Johnson, I still don't think this trade is working out. 0 points last night. Jokic, 35 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists. Christian Braun, 15 points. He had a great game, 16 rebounds, 1 assist. Julian Strawther, bad game, 1 for 4. Jamal Murray, inefficient game, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. And then you look at the bench and you got your 5 for 6, 17 points from Tim Hardaway Jr. And that's about it. That's it. That's really all you got. Their offense doesn't look good. Their defense doesn't look good. The Nuggets don't look good. It's very disappointing. Since Jokic came back, they haven't been good. I'd like to give a special shout out as well to the homie Chief Lou. He came to the Twitch stream from TikTok and subscribed for 3 months in advance, and he hasn't even said a message yet. That's incredible. Chief, be sure to join the Discord. I would appreciate it very, very much. Exclamation point Discord in the chat. Chief Lou came in and asked, do you think with Watson, they're getting small better? Yeah, absolutely. They don't have Aaron Gordon. They don't have Peyton Watson, and that hurts them. Peyton Watson is their center of their perimeter defense. Right now, they're just strolling into the hoop. Peyton Watson sort of stalls that, as well as Aaron Gordon. People don't understand how valuable both of those two players are. They changed the entire impact of the Denver Nuggets. They have no perimeter resistance right now. None of these players in the starting lineup are stopping guys from driving to the hoop. That's their biggest complaint right now. Once you drive to the hoop, who's going to stop them? Jokic? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And that's their biggest weakness right now. They have none of that perimeter resistance at all. And that's why they're losing these games. It's not because of their bad shooting per se. Yes, that plays a part. But when you don't have perimeter resistance and then you don't have a paint protector, excuse me, you have to have one of the other. You can't not have both. And that's the biggest issue right now with the Denver Nuggets. That's the biggest issue. That's why they're my second loser of the weekend. They lost both their games over the weekend. Shout out the Timberwolves for stomping them last night. But this speaks more about the Denver Nuggets loss than it does the Timberwolves win. This was not a good loss for the Denver Nuggets. They lost both their games over the weekend. They had arguably the worst. No, they did have, undisputed, the worst month of February out of any contending team in the league. They had the worst month of February. Let's move on to my final loser of the weekend. This one's kind of small. Palm, thank you so much for the follow on Twitch. I appreciate you very much, baby. Thank you. Make sure to join the Discord, Palm. My final loser of the weekend is Steph Curry and the Warriors. In case you guys didn't hear, Steph Curry is going to be reevaluated in another 10 days. So that doesn't mean that he's going to return in 10 days. That just means he's going to be reevaluated in 10 days. This is bad, guys. This is really bad. I forgot to make note as well when I was talking about the Orlando Magic. My apologies. I took this note last night. The Orlando Magic are 2 games behind the 76ers for the 6th seed in the East. So they are 2 games behind from a playoff spot. They are also 2 games ahead of falling to the 10th seed in the East. Now the Magic have a very easy schedule up ahead. Very easy schedule. They play the Wizards. They play the Mavericks. And then they play Minnesota, but then they have the Milwaukee Bucks. 3 out of those 4 games should be wins. This team does not want to fall to the 10 or 9 spot in the East, having the third most expensive salary next year. You don't want to do that. Golden State Warriors, man. Golden State Warriors. You're probably wondering why they're the loser of the weekend. They only played 1 game and they lost the Lakers. Unfortunately, he's cooked. And it's so funny to me when I see people put Steph ahead of guys like Anthony Edwards this year, Cade Cunningham this year. It's just downright disrespectful and biased. Steph Curry hasn't been playing this year a whole lot. He's been out for a while. And, losing Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, crashed their season. And then when you need offensive firepower to step up when you lose Jimmy Butler, you end up trading one of your only offensive guys to the Atlanta Hawks in Kuminga, who has been playing incredibly well. They're on a 4-game win streak. Kuminga last night, 7 for 12 from the field, 20 points. I don't know what more needs to be said about head coach Steve Kerr. I don't know what More needs to be said about Mike Dunleavy. I don't know what more needs to be said about this franchise, but they better thank their lucky stars that they are all now billionaires because of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, and all those guys, man. Because without them, I mean, this franchise is sorry. This franchise is unbelievably sorry. There's a reason why you don't see Golden State Warriors fans anymore. It's because they don't recognize this team that they're watching on the court anymore. They don't recognize them. Steph Curry is going to be reevaluated in 10 days. And honestly, their season is pretty much over. I can't see them winning in the play-in if Curry isn't healthy. It's completely impossible for them to get out of the play-in, just so everybody's clear. They're locked into the play-in. They're not falling out of the play-in, and they're not climbing out of the play-in. If you want to join the Discord, !Discord in the chat, Chief. We'd love to see you, Palm, and Jay Stu to join the Discord. !Discord in the chat. They are 7.5 games above the Grizzlies, who are outside the play-in looking in, and they are 5.5 games, or my apologies, they are 5 games from the Lakers to get into the playoff picture. That's not happening. 5 games out of the playoffs, and you still don't have Curry. That's not happening. Honestly, if the play-in were to start today, they would be versing the Suns. The Suns will probably be a little bit more healthy than them. And yeah, we'll have the Suns making the playoffs and play. This might be it, man. This might be it. They went and got Tingus Pingus, who played 1 game, and now he's been out for the last 5 games. He played 1 game, and now he's been out for the last 5. Why do you make that trade? Why do you make that trade? Why? You benefit nothing. You benefit absolutely nothing. You're mad that Jonathan Kuminga's family was taking food from the arena? You're mad about that? Well, now look. You hated Kuminga that much that you traded the one guy that could put the ball in the hoop. Unfortunately, Steph Curry is going out sad, just like so many other legends. Unfortunately, Dirk, Kobe, you can name them, we got them. It's unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate. Guys, that's going to do it for all my losers, I think. I think that's going to do it for all my losers of the weekend. Yeah. That is going to do it for my losers of the weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, before I let you go, we got to give out our stud of the night from last night. A lot of players had some good stat lines. You had Cade Cunningham. You had, I'm not going to say Tyrese Maxey. That was a horrendously inefficient game from Tyrese Maxey. You had a good game from VJ Edgecombe. You had a great game from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You had good games all around the league, right? I could mention Luka or LeBron, but it was against the Kings, so those don't really count. I could mention Jaylen Brown. I could mention a lot of guys for last night's stud of the night. But I got to be honest with everybody. There's only one stud of the night last night, and his name, Neemias Queta. I don't care that Shai dropped 30. Does not matter. I don't care. No, it's not Jokic. He lost. Why would I give him stud of the night? It was Neemias Queta. Neemias Queta, career high. In 27 minutes of play, Neemias Queta had 27 points, 17 rebounds, 10 of them offensive. I got to repeat myself. 27 minutes, 27 points, 17 rebounds, 10 of them offensive, 2 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks, team high plus 20. He shot 10 for 14 from the field and 7 for 10 from the free throw line. Neemias Queta, give it up to him. His first ever stud of the night. And honestly, it could be one of many. He had his way with Andre Drummond and Adem Bona. Listen, man, Drummond couldn't play defense. He could not play defense in his prime with the Pistons. Horrible defender. Cone on defense. Worst 7-footer defender in the entire NBA for 10 years. He's even worse now because he got older. He is legit. If I didn't think he could get worse, but he is a worse defender now in his old age. So shout out Neemias Queta for having his way with Andre Drummond. He's not a defender, and man, he really took it to him, man. Neemias Queta, unbelievable stat line. That is my stud of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's going to do it for today's show. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Twitch chat, be sure to stick around because we're not going anywhere. You guys know we stick around for a little bit. I do have a long recording session for my documentary channel today, but be sure to stick around for a little bit. Twitch, don't go anywhere. YouTube and TikTok, if you guys want more stream, if you guys have any questions about your specific team or any question, or you just want to talk to me, be sure to come through to the Twitch stream. I'd love to see you guys come through. That's JZ Uncut on Twitch. The link is in my bio. Podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. It really means a lot. Apple, Spotify, I'm talking to all of you guys. I got nothing left to say, man, except for thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And as always, guys, thank you for watching / listening.